First of all, thank you very much for joining the meeting. It's a pleasure to meet with you, even though it's just online. Uh, Hello, and today we are going to be talking about the internships. We know that you have many questions. Internship committee comprised of Michael Hoca, Hugh Hoca, Lale Hoca, and Ece Hoca and Gözde Hoca are helping them to set up all types of documentation are with us. So I thank the internship committee a lot for all their efforts and joining us today. I also thank you guys for joining the meeting today. And the thing is, first we are going to, Michael Hoca is going to lead the meeting. So first we are going to hear from Michael Hoca. If you have any questions, and I know you do, please just keep it when Michael Hoca is done with his presentation. Afterwards, we are going to answer all the questions that you might have. Okay? With that, the microphone is yours, Michael Hoca.
Well, first of all, I need to ask if you can hear me because I had a connection problem briefly. Yes. Okay, great. Thank you, Ceylan Hoca. Thank you also to my colleagues on the Internship Commission, and thank you also especially to Ece and Gözde. Without them, we can't complete this kind of coordination and support for you guys. I know that everyone has plenty of questions, as Ceylan also mentioned, about what's going to happen with the internships, and we want to answer as many of those questions as we can today. I say that because I say as many as we can because we're not going to be able to answer all of your questions, but we will share with you all the information we have until now. First of all, we want to tell you that we've made a decision based on requests of several people, including administrators, to, let me put it to you this way, okay? The question was raised about whether or not it's possible to have online internships or distance internships, the same way that we're having distance learning right now in the courses. Our decision for that is basically that for ST 102, which is the workshop internship, distance internships or online internships are not allowed. For who's got their microphone on? For construction site internships, thank you. I was just doing that. Whoever's writing, thank you very much. For construction site internships, remote working is not permitted. But for the office internships, we wanted to create a structure where we thought that you could possibly complete an office internship in a remote working setting. So that, for the most part, has so much to do with the fact that the majority of office internship applicants are passing from third year into fourth year, which should be their graduating year. And on top of that, people who are actually graduating but maybe couldn't complete one of their internships. Now, before we talk about the details of the remote working office internships, let me say to you what our position about the workshop, and say a little bit more about our position on the workshop and the construction site internships. The fact of the matter is that architecture is not a profession like many others or many other graduates of the university. An architecture degree makes you responsible for a far greater degree of people's security and safety, and we really don't have any reason to soften the requirements because of that standard that you have to obtain to. And it just doesn't seem practical. That's something that is 100% application-based could be done in a remote working setting. That's the bad news. The good news is that as far as we hear and as far as we see, construction sites are working and factories are working. Our word to you with regard to those things, so we do feel like if you want to do a workshop or a construction site internship, you will, first of all, you will have time this summer to do it, or potentially during the semester break in January. And second of all, that our only warning or encouragement to you is that you find one that is practicing or what would you say, has in place personal safety requirements that are recommended by the authorities. So we want you to find a safe workplace. But we do want you to do it face to face. As a suggestion for those of you who are still in your earlier years, there is plenty of time to do two internships in one summer to make up the lost internship. And we do offer now everyone in the department the chance to complete their internship during the intersemester break. Okay? It used to be only for fourth year students, but now that opportunity is for everyone. So, especially if you can't find a perfectly safe workplace to do face-to-face internship for 102 and 204, or potentially 304, you should have time later in your curriculum. Now that said, we are not saying that you cannot do 304 or office internships face-to-face. In fact, we prefer that. And for that reason, we've set up, by the way, the same request or the same, it's not a requirement, but demand goes to you guys as well. We want you to be able to do it in a safe way. So we're going to put some extra requirements, and those extra requirements are intended to kind of help you to simulate the environment that you would be working in, and especially with regard to your exposure to coordination issues and coordination with the other disciplines like the structural engineer, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, the city zoning department, etc. So you're going to have extra documents that you're going to have to give, and we're going to publish a list, don't worry. And we want you, when you see this list, to make sure that when you apply for your remote working office internship, that you negotiate these terms with the supervisor, because if they don't agree to those terms, you may end up having completed your internship with them, but we won't be able to accept it. Okay, and it has extra requirements for them also, which is why you're going to have to really negotiate those terms with them. We're asking them to turn in your timesheets, for example, to prove that you timesheet is, what was a puantaj in Turkish? So it's going to have additional requirements. And let me repeat, we still will accept face-to-face in-office internships. We are not saying there are no face-to-face in-office office internships. We're not saying that, okay? We're just saying, especially for those of you who might be on a tighter timeline, that there may be a way with some extra requirements to fulfill your learning objectives in a remote working fashion. Okay? Let me ask you guys a question. Polling. Pressed the wrong key. Well, I'm not going to update it. That's supposed to be a question mark, not a colon, obviously. Anybody from first year here? How was your review?
There are lots of students from first year.
That's great. Welcome, guys. Okay, we get it. You're all here. I asked you a question, though. How was the review?
Studio review, he means, guys.
How was the jury first year?
What's a jury? I don't know what that is.
We call jury.
No, we call it review. It's not the 19th century anymore.
Okay, the English part is review.
Yes.
Sorry.
Some haven't happened yet.
Some have, some haven't finished it
Yeah,
yet.
it's continuing Monday. So I had to leave tomorrow. Who has a review tomorrow? Okay, well, let's not mind with the 25 people who haven't given a response. No one said that it's not clear so far, so that's fine. Now we need to talk about two other issues, okay? I'm going to ask another question just to see what happens. Polling, yes or no questions. Have you It's a long question, I'm sorry. Oh, it's too long for... I have to do some creative editing. Ah. Okay, that's the best I can do. It's like Twitter, you only get so many characters. So the question is, are you one of the people who completed an internship during the past 12 months, so either last summer or during the intersemester break, but for whatever reason you were not able to turn in your report, or maybe when you did, you missed a requirement, like, I don't know, a signature or a missing form or something like this, so there's something wrong with your report and you weren't able to fix that before we all got sent home. So another way of saying this is who's in limbo. While we're waiting for the responses, let me say to those of you who turned in a proper report, completed an internship, turned in a proper report, and are waiting for your grades, those are in process, okay? Don't worry. There is 99.99% chance that if you turned it in and it's in the right format, that you will receive your S grade. The worst thing that could possibly happen is that there may be some requirement to follow up with something. Oh, who erased that?
I did, because all of our important notes are, came.
Well, Jaylon can actually change the, well, actually probably...
You're all moderators. Okay, please do not
Hey guys, seriously, stop Googling.
Seriously, stop it, really. I can see
I
who's doing
stopped
it, and I don't want to kick those people out, please.
I stopped it already.
You're not kids anymore, come on.
I wasn't paying attention to specifically what was written, but I can understand their impulse. It's frustrating, the situation we're in. Okay, so still have no response from 59 people, but there are 7 people who said that they are in this unfortunate position. I want to speak to you 7 people and whoever is in the same situation right now. So if you did complete your internship and it was a good internship, but for whatever reason you were not able to submit the completed, proper formatted report, we have a procedure for you to allow you to do that. We will also announce this in detail wherever we announce the requirements for remote working. But basically, let me summarize it like this. We're going to want you to submit digitally, okay, by a specific date. And we're going to require some additional verification from your supervisor at the internship, okay? And you may have questions about, the office is closed or whatever. Anyway, we'll work through all of those issues. There's not a lot of you anyway, but we are concerned about you being in that in-between situation. So, if you did an internship, couldn't complete the submission of the report, we need you to get in touch with Gözde Hoca as soon as possible. Gözde, sorry, I just threw your name out there. Is that okay with you? Is she here? Yes. Maybe she didn't hear. Okay, then she has no say in the matter. Get in touch.
She put her email address there, Michael.
She said yes,
There
yes,
you go. Okay.
yes, she's answering.
Okay, great. So please make sure that Gözde Hoca is aware that you're in that situation. In fact, we have a list of who you are. We know who you are. But we want you to write to us and say, look, I did my internship. I wasn't able to do the report. I want to finish the report and turn it in. And then we're going to publish the details on how you can do that. There is going to be a hard deadline for that, though, so be aware. And if you have time to begin working on it or working on completing it, you should go ahead and start doing that, okay? So, let's see then. Where's the polling? That part to clear for people who didn't turn in their reports. Okay, we're trending in a positive direction. You know what? Did anyone think to look at the roster to see who said yes to the previous question?
No.
Oh, that was a mistake. It didn't even occur to me. I don't like to look at what the individuals say. Okay, fair enough. Seems like that's pretty clear. Now, before we get to your questions, we're going to try and cut you off at the pass, as we say, or to try and answer your questions before you ask them. I'm sure that many of you have a lot of questions about this summer, especially with regard to signing up, registering, etc. Before we talk about what's different about this year, I'd like to talk about what's standard and normal every year. And first of which, that is that the basic requirements for completing an internship in Izmir University of Economics Department of Architecture is that first of all, you should register for the internship, which means submitting the proper, what is it called in English? Internship application form, or staj kabul formu, I think. Make sure that it's the one for this year, okay? It should be written on it 2020. Let me repeat that. Make sure that it has the current year written on it. If it doesn't have the current year written on it, it's a good chance you have the wrong form, because the form changes every year. So, second, this is important. Yes, AJ is providing you with the address for the Department of Architecture internship requirements. The form needs to be submitted more than 2 weeks before you begin the internship. The reason for this is because of the work that the university has to do with the social insurance office. Okay? This is extremely important. So the acceptance form, the registration form, needs to be complete, submitted, signed by your internship supervisor, and submitted and registered 2 weeks before, more than 2 weeks before the start date of your internship. The requirements for the different internships are as such. For the workshop internship, you have your choice to pursue that in a architectural model making workshop, in another kind of workshop, such as a building products manufacturer. I don't want to say furniture for sure, because some furniture internships end up being okay, some end up not being okay. So when you go to a furniture factory, it's not always a guarantee you're going to pass. But especially building products manufacturing is a good workshop. Or doing surveying at a restoration project. Okay? And that is not to say working in a restoration office. That is to say surveying on a chantier or arazi in a restoration project. So you're not actually working in the restoration design office, but for those of you who are interested possibly in restoration as a specialization, it's a good chance in your first year, or it doesn't have to be your first year, in your workshop internship, to do that in a restoration project as a surveyor. So those are your options. The workshop internship is 2 weeks long, and I don't want to have arguments with people about, but we work on Saturdays. It says very clearly on the page that AJ posted that we don't count Saturdays. So you can work on Saturdays, but we're not going to count them. It's 2 weeks, okay? It's not 10 days. It's 2 weeks. For the other internships, they are 4 weeks, okay? So if you work on Saturdays or not, it doesn't matter. They are not counted in your internship period. You have 7 days after the last day of your internship to submit your internship report together with the support documents. There are very specific requirements for our department, which are different from other faculties, other colleges, and different from every other department in our college as well. Okay? So make sure that you follow the instructions that are on our webpage. Our requirements are different. And another suggestion for you guys is don't do what your friend did. Read the instructions and do what it says there. Utko, I see that you have a question. Let me finish what I'm going to say and then I'll get to you. So you have 7 days to turn in your materials. Of course, if you're doing the internship somewhere else or it's difficult, we work with you all the time to make sure that that's not a problem for your evaluation. Plus, turning it in late only results in a point reduction. So if the report and the internship is still in a good quality, you still get your satisfactory grade. Okay? So you have 7 days to turn in the report. Make sure it's in the right format. Make sure it's bound properly. Make sure that you have recorded and placed on your report the special tracking number that we give you. Okay, your tracking number this year is going to start with 2021, which refers to 2020 and 2021, and then you have a code number depending on what kind of internship that you have. That number is our little secret between us, but it helps us keep track of all of you. That number is not relevant for Simge Hanım or your I guess it is relevant for your internship advisor. I'm not going to say that, but it's not relevant to Öğrenci İşleri. They don't need that number, but we need that number, and we need you to remember that number and to record that on your report in the proper format. And when you apply, we'll remind you all those good things. Okay, so let me ask, there was a question from Utku, I believe. Utku, are you there? Gone, seems. Maybe they will come back. Okay. Well, let me ask, does anyone want to ask a question so far? Great. So let's move on. So we're talking about normal circumstances right now. With regard to that, we want to say to you that, especially if you're planning to do a workshop internship, that you might be thinking to yourselves, oh, well, the class is finishing and I don't have exams for another 3 weeks and I really want to get to Çeşme, so what if I do the internship now? That's not going to be possible because according to the bylaws of the university, which are governed by YÖK, you cannot do an internship and also take classes at the same time, and because the classes are not you can't do an internship during a semester when you're taking classes. And the semester isn't finished until the beginning of July. You won't be able to do that little trick. So, let me say very clearly, Buse, you can do it this year if you can arrange it, and especially in a safe place, or you will have plenty of time to do it later as well, as I said. That's totally your decision. And by the way, just because we're not accepting online or distance remote internships for atelier or whatever, you can still do them as a voluntary internship, gönüllü, stage. And we would encourage you, everyone, especially in your early years, to consider doing multiple internships, because 4 weeks is not, it's not very long. It's not enough, really. So anything that doesn't meet the requirements, we still encourage you to do as a voluntary one. Do we need to wait to the end of the final exams? Barış, yes you do. Thank you for asking. I'm going to tell you the exact dates right now. So according to the official school calendar, the earliest day that you will be able to begin an internship this summer is going to be the 13th of July. It's a Monday. 13th of July. Okay? Now, if you'll remember, a few minutes ago I said to you that in order to begin the internship, you need to complete your registration process more than 2 weeks earlier. So if you look at a calendar, which we just did half an hour ago, you'll see that the last day to register for your summer internship this year is going to be 26th of June if you want to start on 13th of July. Okay? Let me say that again.
Yes.
The earliest you can start your internship is the 13th of July. If you're going to start on the 13th of July, the last day to register is the 26th of June. That's a Friday. Okay? So those are two hard dates that we can definitely share with you. And if you are able to arrange in a safe place, in an office or a chantier or atelier, you've got plenty of time to complete that internship before the beginning of the next semester. Okay? Of course, you know, the 26th of June, sorry, the 13th of July is a Monday, right? So what happens is that if you go one day after the 26th of June, it goes by weeks. So if you want to register on the following Monday, which would be the 29th of June, the earliest that you're going to be able to start is the 20th of July. Okay? So it goes week by week like that. You can make a whole chart that says if you start on the 13th, register by the 26th. If you start on the 20th, register by the, I think it's the 3rd of July. I'd have to look at a calendar. Okay? So none of that has changed as far as we know. Everything is all the same, and the requirements are the same for face-to-face and for remote working. Okay, so I have to ask if you have any more questions. I see some chats, but are those questions or are they just chats? If we fourth-year students complete our internship successfully during this summer, are we going to be able to graduate without any obstacles? Yes, Khan. And Khan, we're aware of several people in that situation, and we're working on the solution to that. Our goal is that, of course, yes, to be able to graduate this summer, obviously. Khan, do you mind if I ask you about your specific case in front of everyone? Khan, do you mind if I ask you about, okay. So for example,
Want to speak?
Sorry?
I asked him if he could speak so that everybody can hear his specific case, if it's okay.
Khan, your case we are aware of. Your mic
Your
is
mic
blocked?
is blocked?
Oh, yeah, you're right. I turned off the mics.
Ah, yeah.
We're aware of your case, and we've been working with Simge Hanım in the Öğrenci İşleri to be able to help find with you. We don't know how successful we are, but now you can talk. You know, there are people like you who we know are in that situation, and we know which stage you need to complete, and we forwarded a list of offices that we believe that would be inclined to help you, whether in-face or remote working style. And especially you guys are the ones that we're thinking of with regard to this remote working possibility, because you really can't postpone, you know? So the answer is yes and no, but we are definitely aware of the situation, and we are, and Simge Hanım is working to help. Obviously, the best thing is if you do have a contact and you can arrange by yourself. Yes, Marve, that answer will come. So Khan, are you somewhat satisfied with that answer? Was I able to explain? Okay. And Khan, and anyone else in the same situation, feel perfectly free to contact us. We're all open to listen to your concerns, etc. So, let's see. I would like to ask my colleagues on the commission if I have left anything out. I want to move on to this what do you call it, registration process. But as far as these things go, I think that's everything. That's everything. Okay, so let's talk about how exactly we're going to get you registered for internships this year. The answer to that question is that right now we don't know. Okay? The procedure is defined by the people in Internship, and it is voted on by the Senate and the Board of Trustees, and because it's an unusual situation, it obviously takes time. So we don't know exactly what the procedure is, but we have been assured by them that they will announce what that procedure is. They said this week, but it's already Thursday night and we haven't seen anything, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's early next week that we see it. And once that procedure is defined, you're going to have all of the registration documents in the normal places, and you'll be able to download or fill out online. I don't know if they're going to do it on Oasis or something like that. That would be ideal, really, for us. But all of that process is going to be defined by Internship. I would encourage you to follow the announcements at the university. We're following. We will announce on our social media as well so that you have the information as soon as we have it. But unfortunately, we can't say exactly what that process is going to be. Yes, sorry, I always forget they split out the Karriere Unlimited Marquesi. Mart, you're already in our records. The problem is that whether you're going to be able to make that deadline or not. Have you spoken with the office? I forgot the name of the office. Mart? Mart, do you hear me? Can you use your mic? You can move your dates. Anyone can move their dates. Changing the dates of your internship is subject to the same requirement about the 2 weeks, though, because it requires the same time to process. Did I misspeak there, AJ? I remember it that way.
Sorry, I missed.
To change the dates of the internship, they have to submit, well, they have to come and see us. We edit the forms, but they still need to do it 2 weeks before it starts.
Yes. And as far as I know, if they want to change dates, they can push forward the dates, and there won't be any problems in terms of internships. The insurances. But they have to notify us in order to be, keeping track of our records. But they cannot pull back the dates. It always has to be postponed in a further date.
Right. So you can't make it earlier, but you can make it later.
Yes. Because as far as I know, they are insured for the whole summer period. And if they change the dates, they will be insured no matter what. But they have to notify us first.
Okay. There's another chat. How do we find offices that accept online interns? Do we have any guide or list? No. I would suggest writing to them from their websites. Keep in mind, though, if you pursue a remote working internship, that it has special requirements, and those special requirements include drawing, preparing structural diagrams, preparing mechanical engineering diagrams. Your supervisor is going to have to submit your signed and sworn timesheets, things like this. Okay. Pursuant to, in other words, in addition to the fact that we can't exactly tell you how your registration form process is going to be, we also can't tell you about the submission once you're finished the internship. As far as we know, remote learning, I wanted to say education, yeah, remote education is going to continue in the fall semester as well, as far as we know right now. So we can imagine that there's either going to have to be a drop-off process for the reports or an online submission, virtual submission of some kind. And that probably will have extra, probably it's going to be online submission. And if it is, it's definitely going to have some additional requirements for your supervisor to email us or fill out a form or something like that. We haven't figured that out yet, and we also need the directions from Öğrencileri on that. So keep in mind that the submission of the report, even though the format is the same, the procedure may be different. And you might be asking yourselves, like, well, how are they going to sign every page of the report? That's one of the requirements if it's a digital report. Well, that's a good question. We don't have an answer to what to do about that yet, but we feel like it's going to be handled with a personal contact with the supervisor from us. But there will be a procedure, and just to repeat, all of that information, when it's available, is going to be available on the department website. And we'll do our best to post updates to social media so it might catch your attention easier. I'm a big TikTok user. Y'all on TikTok? Just follow me on TikTok and you'll see the announcements. Of course, I'm not on TikTok. It's a joke. I'm on Friendster and MySpace. Mostly. So, guys, how do we do? Does that answer most of your questions? Does anyone want to ask any other questions? We did record this session and we will post it somewhere so you can view, either through Panopto or maybe even on our YouTube channel or on Facebook. It's too long for Instagram, obviously, but you will be able to review this information again later. Instagram TV, can you do long format on IGTV? Me either. You can? 5 minutes. That's not long format. Longer than post. Posts are like 10 seconds, aren't they? Okay. If no, Hojam, when will you check our fourth year's last internship reports? Okay, let's talk about that. Who makes 40 minutes on Instagram? Well, this is longer. Interesting. Well, I mean, we'll find out. We'll make it accessible to you somewhere. Even if we post on Instagram a link to somewhere else where you can watch it. I know no one's going to watch it anyway, but so to get to Bolam's question, if you did your internship, I think I covered this in the beginning. You did your internship, you turned your report in, everything's great. Please do not worry one bit. There's a 99.5% chance that you're going to get a successful grade. The obstacle there is that right while we were in the middle of finalizing the grades for all the reports, the 13th rolled around and we were sent home, and we're waiting for the first chance that we have to go back to the office and finalize the grades. Okay? So if you did everything and you're just waiting for your grade, please be patient and calm and confident that you made a great internship, assuming you did, and a beautiful report, and that everything's okay. Any other questions? If there's no more questions, I would like to turn to my colleagues and ask them if they have anything to add. Ceylan Hocam, perhaps?
No, I mean, you gave perfect information. One person asked if there are any offices that we can suggest. Well, not many actually who will agree with the online internships. I mean, I don't say that we talk, I'm not saying that we talk to them and they are not accepting, but just one office came to us with the possibility of accepting an online internship. But I'm sure they will be sympathetic to you if you approach them, because they know the situation. But you are many, so it's impossible for us to arrange individual internships for all of you.
Right. May I add to that?
Yes.
Who had asked that question, by the way?
I think Barış asked
Barış?
it. Barış.
Yeah. Barış, in preparing this policy, I consulted a number of my friends who have offices or work in offices in the local market here in Izmir. And to be frank, their overwhelming response was no way. There's no such thing as online internship. But after talking about it with them and talking about adding some extra requirements and talking about the fact that they're actually remote working themselves, so they should think about the possibility for an intern to be able to join the team as a remote worker as well. They kind of came around to the idea. So my guess, because a lot of offices just went on hiatus, they just stopped working. My guess is that offices who are still working, they're working remotely themselves. They've had 2.5 months to figure out how that works for them, and they're perfectly ready to take remote working interns. And I've seen also, by the way, this is another point I wanted to make, which I forgot. I'm glad you brought this up, is that, by the way, we're not only, when we're saying that you can make a remote working internship, you realize that you can make it anywhere on the planet now, right? So I wouldn't stop with, so-and-so in Alsancak. I would contact with offices in Europe because of the time zone, maybe further east from here.
That's a great opportunity.
You can talk to Enka. They do lots of work in Russia and in Azerbaijan. No, Turkmenistan. Also Azerbaijan. So think about that as well, guys. That's a perfect opportunity to reach out beyond borders. So anyone who's already working from home, I think, should have the capacity and the willingness to take on a remote working intern. That's my sense from what's going. You just got to put a little initiative into it. And on top of that, those who start working back at the office, most likely they're going to be doing it in a semi-remote way anyway. That's what I've heard. So I think the offices should be prepared to roll you into their personnel as a remote working intern. But it's all up to, as I said, your initiative and how ambitious you are. What is the deadline? That's a good question for this. We like to give you as much flexibility as possible, so that deadline is definitely linked to sort of when we need to, the last day that we need to finalize the grades on the online system. Assuming that that last day is the same as the other grades, submissions, I mean, I can speculate that the last day to submit probably can be as late as what, like when do the exams start? 22nd of June? So sometime around the 15th of June, maybe a few days after that, as the last day. If I could be open.
June or July?
June.
15th of June is the deadline.
Yeah. And
right?
real talk here, I mean, the deadline for turning it in was the first day of the semester. So anybody who says, well, okay, if it was last summer, it was September. If it was the middle of the intersemester break, then it was the first day of the classes. So anybody who says, because of Corona, I couldn't turn in, I'm sorry, we could as well say, well, it's late, we're not taking it. So I think 2 weeks. No, anyone who 2 weeks is enough time to finalize it in my mind, because we're going to take care of all of the signaturing and all that stuff later. It's really just the time to prepare your report and submit it. There was a question about which papers, Atakan? Yeah, I mean, you're supposed to write it while you're doing the internship. This is really just about formatting at this point. I need to go back to the chat. Gözde, no, anyone who did their internship and submitted their report should not be bugging us about our incomplete grade. I think I made it patently clear that we're working on it, it's in process. If your report is in format, that you should get a satisfactory grade. And as soon as we can get back to the office, we're going to finalize all those things. Only if you did not submit your report and you still want to submit your report, we're encouraging you to get in touch with Gözde Hoca so that we can track your progress. Atakan, what papers do you want to submit in July? Atakan? Atakan Karaca asks, so can't we submit our papers on July? But I don't understand which papers he is talking about. First application for a new internship. Of course you can. We're talking about the earliest days. Of course you can. That's what I was explaining earlier. Those dates are going to change. So the earliest day to begin an internship is 13th of July. That means that you need to turn in all your paperwork before the 26th of June. But let's say you want to start the internship on the 1st of August. If I look at a calendar, if you want to start your well, that's a Saturday. So let's say the 2nd of August. The last day to turn in your paperwork is going to be the 17th of July. Muhammad, no, it's not a problem at all. And I appreciate your question, because I do want to say to everyone, we want to say to everyone, this is something we talked about a lot. We really would encourage you to wait until a time that you can do face-to-face internship. we're not going to stop you from trying to do a remote working internship because we believe there is a way to do it with some restrictions and some standards. But yeah, I mean, you definitely will have time next summer, let's say, to do it, and yeah, I don't want to say more than that. You will have time to do it next summer as well. Yes, it's possible to do a office internship in the intersemester break. Again, you're going to be limited by the same restrictions about the insurance, though. So if that's your plan, definitely plan ahead and definitely make sure that you get your paperwork in early enough and hopefully turn your reports in early enough. Let's see. Was there was a Gozde made a comment that I missed. Oh, did she make it privately? Complete and submit something wrong. Sometimes a register enters workshop grade to construction for instance. Yeah. Good point. But that shouldn't change. This is kind of an issue between us. That shouldn't change the date for the people that we know who are turning in the report late. What that does is that puts more pressure on us to get the reports that were handed in already graded, within the next week or two. Ceylan Hoca, may I ask you a question?
Sure.
What is the situation in the university and in the city of Izmir with regard to these things? I mean, we're working from home. Students are studying from home. But it's possible to go to the university without hindrance because they're telling everyone come and pick up this and that thing.
Yes.
So as soon as the transportation is sorted out again, the trains and the ferries are running regularly. So, I mean, we might set a deadline for ourselves to have all of those submitted reports wrapped up before the 15th. So that
it's up to the Internship Committee. I will give every support that you require.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry,
It's
I mean, this
totally
doesn't have that much
guys.
to do with the students, just thinking through the point that Gozde made. Because we do need to identify the misclassified ones, and then there's a lot of correspondence going along with that. So, my dear Hugh, Lale, Ece, Gözde, hocams, hocalarım, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
No, I think everything's very clear to me.
No, and I would like to re-emphasize the opportunity that you all have for finding a remote working experience from around the world.
Exactly, that's a great opportunity. And Michael Hocam, this was a great, very, very informative meeting. I'm sure all the students appreciated that a lot. Not only for this period, but throughout all their internships.
Well, thank you for saying that. We work very hard, especially Ece Hoca and Gözde Hoca work very hard to make sure that it can be as painless of an experience for the students as possible. And I don't know about me, but I know that they do a great job.
Yeah, students should know that Ece Hoca and Gözde Hoca are our like heroes behind the scenes almost in everything they do. Like they do stuff when you see, but they do a lot of stuff that you don't see.
Yes.
So thank you very much to them.
They had a good sensei, I'd say. A good what's the shoot. So I would just add to that. Thanks to Lale also for emphasizing the opportunity to do it remotely, even elsewhere. And I want to, on top of that, emphasize that even if it's not going to count, it can be certainly worth the experience. You know, if you see any kind of online workshop and you want to try and do that as a gönüllü stage, do it. Why not?